Hello and welcome to the Mint66 yet to be named People podcast. Must come up with something sooner rather than later. Delighted to have Geoff Vandegrift from Adastra with me today as our very first guest. Thank you so much, Geoff, for coming on board with us. Please introduce yourself and your company to what I hope will be the many that will end up watching this.
Yes. My pleasure to be on. Glad you guys asked. Yes, my name is Geoff Vandegrift. I am the Chief Technology Officer at Adastra. I started with Adastra about 7 years ago. They hired me in as the Director of Engineering. Adastra as a business has been around for, it's almost ancient in terms of software companies. It's coming up on 30 years old. And our mission, our literal mission, is to graduate more students faster. And the way that we do that is primarily through the schedule. I don't know the UK system very well, so I can't compare, but the American system, it's a very common story for students to need to take a course. And either it's not offered in like the location they need, the way that they need it, the time that they need it, the semester that they need it. And so that ends up delaying their graduation. And so we help universities plan their schedules better so that they can get their students graduated on time.
Thank you so much for coming on board. So we're going to create a series of these videos, hopefully, just to add some real valuable content to those that choose to listen. You know, from our viewpoint on Mint66, our passion is absolutely people in the workplace. We want to be able to make it better for employees and employers alike. And obviously the world has changed post-COVID. It's almost unrecognizable, the workplace, to a degree. But you started working with us many years ago with my business partner,
yes,
Jerry. If we can start by just understanding what it was that you were looking for when you first engaged with us. What was the need, and why did this become quite important for you to bring on board to Adastra?
But before being at Adastra, I got to work at a small startup that was using an organizational system called Holacracy, which is there's no managers. And it really sort of kind of awakened an idea in me that, you can have organizations that are pretty flat. And so when I got the opportunity to come to Adastra, it was kind of a personal mission of mine to see, without using a formalized system like Holacracy, there's a lot we could talk about there, but just, traditional hierarchy, but just keep it super flat. There's lots of examples around the software industry, but for me, one of the things that became critical in executing on an organization like that is the ability to get meaningful feedback and the ability to do good peer reviewing, right? If you've got, like, at the time I had, 20 to 25 direct reports, and, the HR experts will tell you, that's a terrible idea. You should never do that. I feel like if you get the right systems in place, you can make that work. So Mint66, then Thymometrics I did a lot of searching around, looked at a lot of tools, and you guys just had kind of the game changing features, the ability to initiate anonymous conversations based on engagement scores, the ability for people to give anonymous feedback. It just was a critical bit that I needed if I was really going to execute on a flat structure like I wanted to.
Yeah, that makes sense. So I think possibly you were ahead of the curve because, as I say, you've been talking with Jerry now for good 5-6 years, maybe a little bit longer. Yeah. The way I see things at the moment, I think there's been a real shift in employee mentality and employee values. And one of the key things, picking up on the word values, is all of us as humans, we want to feel valued in all parts of our life. And one of the things we've done at Mint66 is to give employees a meaningful voice, because as a minimum, people want to be heard. What shift are you seeing in terms of employee mentality when it comes to the whole concept of providing feedback and wanting a meaningful voice. Have you seen a change over the years, or is it actually driven more by you and your mentality that you go out there and proactively seek the feedback? Where do you sit with that?
That's a really good question. I mean, I think employees have always wanted to have a voice, but I think for years and years, they just sort of accepted maybe, I don't know, the reality that they didn't have a voice, couldn't have a voice. But, that's definitely been changing as organizations get a little bit more progressive. And it's a bit ironic for me to even say that right now because, these things ebb and flow, right? As the sort of the job market gets hotter and cooler, businesses get more and less accommodating. I mean, in the end, to say what's probably obvious to you and the audience is that if you do it the right way, it leads to more productive teams, giving them an opportunity to be engaged. It's a real game changer. I mean, it's not just the voice. I mean, you have to do something about it, but yeah, I think it sort of ebbs and flows. I think, here maybe within the last 5 or 6 years, there has been a growth. It seems especially Gen Z, I guess, as I'm talking here, especially Gen Z have just grown to kind of like they value any number of things over the paycheck. They want a place where they can be engaged. And if it pays a little bit less or whatever, they're content with that. So I think that generation seems to be seeking it out more so. I don't know, just one man's observations.
No, I think it's more than one man's observation, to be honest with you, because I share that view. I think society has changed, and therefore the attitudes of generations will change as society evolves. And there is a difference, and I think it's imperative as leaders that we understand that difference, because no matter how good and how much investment businesses make in tech, it still all comes down to the people, and the tech should enable 100%. The people to be better.
Yeah.
And I think that's the key. You touched on something earlier on around increasing productivity.
Yeah.
From your time since you've been working with us, can you give any examples where you've been able to progress maybe further than you would have thought you could have done because you've had receipt of that feedback? How's it made you as a leader? Has it made you more empathetic, more understanding? Has it just created more awareness of what your people are like? And how does that translate actually into productivity from your viewpoint?
Yeah. I mean, the challenge in engineering, of course, is no one has come up with good ways of measuring productivity. You could do a whole podcast on that, a whole series of podcasts on that. I certainly have anecdotes. You find out, you learn things that you would otherwise not hear about. You learn about, even problem employees, right? I mean, people who are being sort of abrasive, disrupting the culture, that kind of thing, and get ahead of that sort of thing. And if that leads to, for example, helping someone find another job so that you can get somebody that's a better fit into the business, that's a huge game changer, because of course that's the biggest lever that a manager, a people manager has when it comes to productivity. And I just point to having an engaged team it's much easier in those moments when you really have kind of a looming goal, a big goal, big audacious goal, to them rising to the challenge. And I've been able to observe that a number of times here. One of my favorites was when we found out about one of our customers was onboarding, and this was before the Martin Luther King holiday, which is in January around here, and that's when a lot of schools will start up. And we had a customer that had discovered that kind of their plans for their process plans, as kind of the rubber was meeting the road, wasn't going to work. And so we had like 2 days, and we got kind of our team on a call with their needs. And it's the best kind of these problems. They didn't come to us with, hey, we need you to go build X, Y, and Z. They came to us with a problem. Like we can't actually navigate our workflow here. And the team got creative and whipped out a feature in 2 days so that they were able to get going. And I think that only comes from when you have a team that isn't sitting around, waiting to be told what to do by the boss, but is really engaged in the work that they're doing and passionate about the work that they're doing.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And it's interesting you veered the conversation to the word engagement, because we're an engagement and a retention platform, as you know. It's really interesting when you dissect that. One of the best ways to focus on improving retention actually is to focus on improving engagement. Are your teams fully remote? Are you
no,
hybrid?
actually, this is one of the things where I'm a little bit of an outlier these days. Is I really believe in having software teams in the office together. In my mind, building software is a social endeavor ultimately. No one's kind of working in a silo. And so it's this, you need the system, the organism of people, to be able to communicate quickly. I mean, so much is caught more than taught. So many great conversations happen kind of serendipitously. So we are all here in Overland Park, Kansas, the software engineering team, which is, relatively unusual these days.
It absolutely is. I remain open-minded because I think different things work for different companies. Mm-hmm. But there's no denying that personal connectivity is such a huge, huge win. Obviously, the market changed significantly post-COVID. How have your team adapted to the fact that so many other businesses are hybrid, yet the requirement for Adastra is to come in? Because I'm assuming they have to be really bought into your journey in order to be able to do that with no objection. What works for you in terms of creating that level of engagement?
When all of this went down, I obviously for legal reasons, we had to allow people to work from home. But I kind of remained skeptical. So many people were so quick to say that, oh yeah, this is the new way. This is the way it's going to be forever. I remained skeptical for all kinds of reasons. One, just my opinion that I think being together is a better way of operating. But two, I just didn't think that it was going to stick at a lot of these bigger companies. Well, sure enough, they all started kind of backpedaling. Now we are hybrid. Currently, we're in the office, so people can work from home Mondays and Fridays, but we're all in the office Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. So really what it has done is it's created a self-selection process. I mean, and I knew all along, in the end, this is a free market problem because I have to compete for talent. And if everybody sees work from home as a benefit, just like a really generous vacation package or, compensation or whatever, right? It's like, well, it's one of the things I have to compete with. But in the end, it really has turned into sort of a kind of a self-sorting exercise. We've, a number of the people we've hired recently, part of the reason they came to us is because they knew we were in the office and they wanted to be in the office with other folks. But I'll tell you what, this is one thing where your product has helped kind of navigate this space. There were many, many, many anonymous conversations I carried on in the early days around the return to office to just sort of help it allowed me to kind of get ahead of some of it and help people understand the way I was looking at it. It's so often seen as management wants to just exert control. They don't trust people. And of course, that's not where I'm coming from at all. Anybody that knows me knows I'm not coming from there. But having those anonymous conversations was a game changer, knowing what I was sort of up against, so to speak, and what people's concerns were.